you think education is a challenge? People, if investors are looking for more diversification and outperformance or arbitrage, as it were, away from what they can get cheaper through the passives, do you think the industry can do any? If you're a mid-size asset manager, how do you then communicate, or how do you educate the market around your product suite if you're moving into more esoteric areas, for example?
So as a broad statement, I'd say education is key. Financial advice in Australia is critical. I think it's well recognised that the financial advice framework in Australia needs enhancing or improving because it's broken right now. There's not enough financial advisors to service the population. Most people, I don't think only 1 in 5 people seek financial advice. It's expensive. The way that the regulations are structured, it makes it out of reach for most mum and dad investors. That is an issue. From a funds management perspective, or a fund provider, education is important. I mean, the surveys that come up time and time again in terms of what do investors, and I'm putting financial advisors and all the intermediaries in here, what importance, or what do you see as the most important piece of output from a fund manager? It's thought leadership consistently. So we need to be able to educate and provide guidance and support our investors in terms of knowledge around products, asset classes, strategies, what we're doing, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you should mention that, because we've just done recently a piece of research. If we look more at the, let's say, more sophisticated end of the market, the institutional market, CoreData did a piece of research. Data came back, around 2/3 of them took thought leadership from some of the best providers in specific asset class areas where they have expertise, and they married the thought leadership that came out of those firms very closely with intention to invest, not necessarily with those managers, even though there was an element of that, but it just raised the comfort level, even at the sophisticated investor level, that was the right thing to do, because there's so many nuances. And then the impact that then had on sort of brand attribution in terms of favorability, that also rose. So that's at the sophisticated end. But then if we go with that, it's not a scale of sophistication, but if we look at the retail end, advisors have a job, as you say, to educate clients. But how would, let's say, a mid-sized manager that is launching XYZ product, are there any efficiencies they can gain to provide the thought leadership in a more economical way? Because they won't have the deep pockets to spend on the marketing component, managers having to be more nimble. Is there any advice you can think of for a manager for how do they educate without having to have that internal infrastructure? Could they outsource, for example, some of those things?
Yeah, look, technology does help. Social media is clearly a way of tapping into a large audience, and most fund managers obviously use social media for that reason. It's a very cost-effective way of communicating to your investors. Look, you need to have thought leadership in the first place, so you need people on board willing to commit to putting down on paper or sitting in front of a podcast such as this to ensure that they can communicate those. And I think sometimes that does go amiss. There's too much focus on, all we're doing is investing. If you're not communicating with your clients, though, you're not providing them with a service. And as we've just discussed, thought leadership is top of mind when it comes to requirements.